Welcome to Reclaim Your Life with Irina, the podcast that helps you heal, grow, and live with purpose. In today's episode, you'll meet Stephen Buescher, a writer and a coach who went from living for others to living for his truth. He shares how losing everything at 50 became a turning point that helped him reclaim his worth, embrace spirituality, and find lasting peace. If you ever struggled with self-doubt, toxic relationships, or feeling stuck, this episode will show you that transformation is possible at any age. Get ready to reclaim your life, discover inspiring stories, practical tools, and the path to true happiness. This is Reclaim Your Life with Irina. Let's begin the journey. Before we start the next conversation, I want to invite you to check out my amazing book, The Gift Inside, a powerful guide for healing your body, mind, and soul. Reclaim your strengths and awaken your true potential. Whether you are navigating heartbreak or simply seeking deeper fulfillment, this book offers the tools to turn your struggles into triumphs. It is time to unlock the gift within you. Available now on Amazon, or you can check it out on my website www.irinashehovtsov.com. Stephen Buescher is on a journey to discover what it means to live a life of purpose. His journey is one of transformation from a rational thinker trying to make sense of things to an intuitive soul at peace with the life around him. Stephen is a writer, podcaster, and founder of the Global Summit Events community. Welcome, Stephen. It's a pleasure to have you.
No, thank you so much, Irina. It's a joy to be here, and especially what an important topic. You know, so many of us live these life, and we're just not happy. We don't go to this job we don't like. We are stuck in relationships that we're not feeling fulfilled in. And I'm just really pleased to come here and talk about reclaiming your life.
Yeah. So please share with us in few words, who are you in your own words?
Well, that's the big question. And as we go through life, we realize that how we define ourselves is the key to living the life that we really want. For myself, we start off in this space of we define ourselves based off of what we do and our family and everything around us that's external. But in my case, it caused a lot of pain. It caused a lot of difficulty because no matter what I did, it wasn't good enough. You know, no matter how I showed up, things went wrong. And over time, I realized that we have different components to this existence, this being. And I've always been spiritual in nature, and I've had some amazing spiritual experiences, but I kind of denied that. I stayed in the safe space of being in that rational place. And, you know, I did have something where I felt like I was called to write a book. And it's like, I don't want to write a book about spirituality, you know, the title of the book will eventually be, when I do write it after 20, 30 years, we'll be running away from God. And what I realize is that we have this intuitive side, we have the spiritual side, and it's a very powerful, peaceful place. So the journey that I went from, the reclaiming my life is, you know, yes, on my 50th birthday, I wanted to understand, why wasn't I happy? You know, what was going on in my life? What was missing? I didn't even know. And I didn't know how to become happy. And that's really what bothered me. So I made a vow to myself on my 50th birthday that the next half of my life would be the best yet, that I would stop living in misery. I would stop living a life for others. And I would really figure out what it is that I needed to step into living. Well, it didn't go exactly the way that I planned. The more that I became happy, the more that I found self-confidence, my relationship actually went the opposite direction, you know, and after 2 years, it ended miserably. And something happened, you know, I overheard her saying to somebody else that she had plans to have me out of the house in 30 days. And I mean, my rational mind was trying to figure out, well, what does that mean? What is she planning? How could she speak with such confidence? And I got into this thought loop, and I'm also highly sensitive as well. So I feel things, you know, quite deeply. And it worked its way up. So the more that I thought about it, the more that I moved into these loops of, you know, catastrophizing. Oh, this is this terrible thing that could happen. I had to set it off to the side. I just had to take that everything that I deemed to be true, you know, my right and the wrong, the judgments, the expectations of a partner from 20 years, all of that. And I just said, you know what? I'm not going to think about it anymore. It's not healthy for me. It's not helping me. It's not creating anything that's positive. And I brought in this spirituality. And so as I brought in that spirituality, I realized that we have all of these things within our lives that hold us back. For myself, I had these beliefs about not being lovable, putting up with people that were treating me bad. I had beliefs about money. I was so afraid of losing money that I couldn't make money. I would hold on to it. I'd put it in the bank, and you really don't make money that way. If you have an emotional attachment to it, then, you're not going to be successful. You need to treat it as a tool. So I had all of these different things that happened. And what I realized is how we define ourselves is part of this. And as that intuitive side came in, as that spiritual side came in, that critical voice that was always saying, you're not good enough, you constantly fail. Every time I would achieve something, it would say, oh, you're gonna mess up doing this, you're not gonna be successful. And I would do it, I would not mess up, I would be successful. And then it would say, well, you can't do it again. Or you're fat, or you're old, or whatever, And all of these things were there. And it's like I realized that it didn't, that those thoughts, the collection of thoughts, when I talk about the critical voice, it's that collection of thoughts that we have that tell us that we're not worthy, that we're not good enough. And I'm thinking, well, give me a break. I just proved to you that I could do this. And yet that critical voice is still there, just switching to something else. When I brought in the intuitive side, that sense of, that critical essence or critical voice went quiet. And it was such a beautiful experience that I realized we could do this at any time. And I did ask that, kind of that entity of the spirituality. It's like, why didn't I do this before? Where were you? And the sense that I got back was kind of the idea that, this is your life, right? The physical experience is so short that however you live it is okay, right? It's a very short time. It is your gift to experiencing life. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing that will diminish your value as a person. And I thought it was a beautiful experience, but I wish I would have known that much earlier, because I lived in such misery and such chaos and failing at so many different things that if I would have just known how valuable we are as people, as this life essence, it's such a beautiful, inspirational thing. You don't get value by pleasing others. You get value by recognizing your own internal worth. So in effect, that's my journey. And that's what brings me here today.
Awesome. And I love that at least you discovered it at 50 years old. Some people go through life and when they're on their deathbed, they realize they have not lived to what they wanted, that they have regrets about not following the true path, or not following what they wanted because they were pleasing other people all their life, or fulfilling other people's vision for their life.
Exactly.
So, good for you that you discovered it, and at least the rest 50 is going to be amazing.
It is. And one thing that I discovered, it's like especially if you're a people pleaser, if you're agreeable, there'll be people that come along that will be upset with what you've done or what you've said or how you show up, and they'll criticize you for what you've done in the world. Well, I found that those people, their joy is in criticizing. And so you give them a gift. If you can do something to cause them to criticize you, you've actually given them what creates joy for them. There's nothing that you could possibly do that would be anything besides getting some critical remark, because that is what they do. That is the way that they show up in life. That is their joy. And it's hard to believe it, but it's true. And when you realize that and see it, it's amazing, because you can actually give them a compliment sometimes, and they will disagree with you on that. And it's like, it's funny to see.
Awesome. What are you passionate about?
I'm really passionate about helping others. It was such a difficult first part of my journey that when I discovered that we get into our own way, that our beliefs about relationships, our belief about ourself, our beliefs about money, our beliefs about anything related to this life experience it can cause us a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. And what I see in people now is I see this amazing potential of life, and we're all stuck in this place of wanting to be authorized by somebody else, credentialed. It's like somebody else to tell us we're good enough. And we don't need that. We don't need anything. It's about stepping into your authenticity. And there's a little caveat here. When you're going through a difficult time, let's say that you're in a toxic relationship, it draws that energy and that life out of your soul. And it takes a little bit of time. I mean, you don't feel like you have what it takes to live. I mean, you don't have the confidence. You don't trust people outside, but really you don't trust yourself either. And my passion is to help people, but really to help people that are on this journey of not embracing the life that it is. You're not feeling like they're good enough, or not feeling like they can do more. And it can't be people that are okay with that. It can't be people that want to be in that misery. It has to be people that recognize that have this knowing deep within their soul that they're done with living that way, that they want a change. They're ready to change, because it's okay to live however we live. That's kind of the sense that I got, is that this is your life. You live it however you want, whether it be misery or whether it be happiness. But if you are living a life where you should be living life fulfilled, more of one of purpose, more of one where you're okay with whatever comes. You just want serenity, peace, connection. Those are the people that I'm seeking. I'm trying to give them the few little steps that I found over the last 10 years and help them shortcut this path, because I did it on my own without knowing the different directions. It's okay. We can all do that. But it cost me 10 years to do that. And I think we can shortcut that. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I mean, I think those 10 years are the most beautiful experiences of my life. It included suffering. And the beauty behind that is, if you suffer, but you suffer because you didn't do anything wrong, and you're just suffering because somebody else is treating you poorly, you can let it go. You can say, you know what, this isn't fair. I'm not going to think about it. You don't have to give it any more energy, and you trust your own judgment of that set of events, and you move on, and you just let go of that suffering. And if we can learn to let go of suffering, if we learn that our choice in how we feel dictates everything, it creates the quality of our life, then we step into immense power, and we can step into this place where we're no longer being tossed around by the seas of emotion, and we can actually go deep, and we can find that calm and that strength of the core of who we are.
You're so right. Yeah, like about being authorized and waiting for other people's confirmations, and instead of trusting ourselves, because I think from early age we were conditioned to entrust our life into figures of authority, whether it's caregivers, teachers, our people where we live, and it's so easy for us to trust them as opposed to trusting ourselves and finding our own. We already have all the answers that we're seeking. Like you said, when you're suffering, we already hold, but we think that it's the answer somewhere outside of us.
And you mentioned parents. What I found, I also practice hypnotherapy, and what I found is that we lock these memories into place. Not only do we pattern others, so we'll see the way that they respond to anger, the way that they respond to sadness, the way they respond to joy or community or family, all of these different little patterns that we absorb. But one thing is, if there's something that's traumatic that's happened, right? We're seeking love and security as a child. And if something happens that's traumatic, there's often, we're trying to process that in a child's frame of reference. So we don't realize as an adult, whenever we're triggered and we go back to this space, and we're now operating and thinking and coping with the skills of a very, very young child. It's why, like, something will happen at work, and you're in an environment with, superiors, like VPs or CEOs or whatever. All of a sudden you find yourselves becoming smaller and, pulling into this old state of being. And the question is, why do we do that? Well, all we're doing is somehow or other, they've triggered a connection within our mind of authority or of, a parental figure or teacher, something that has caused us to go into this automatic role of behavior. But many times we're operating as though a child would, even though we're an adult, our coping skills are like a child. We lose our voice, we become quiet. And it's fascinating to me because, these people are just people. They want to know, they may put pressure on you. And I found that many times they'll put pressure on you because they're trying to, that's their job. They deem the only thing they have is to manage people and to find problems. And so if they find a problem with something you're doing, well, that gives you a chance to start a dialogue, right? And one of my friends, I actually told her, she'd get into these presentations and something would come up and it would become like a battle for her. And she's trying to be right. And now it became a battle of wills. And I said, just put an error on the first slide, but put one that you can explain quickly, that's justifiable, that's reasonable. And then you can validate his need to find a fault, and then you can move on. And it changed everything. She got the employee of the quarter, for a very large company. And it's like, wow, something simple like that how you show up can change everything about your life experience.
You're absolutely right. It's all about how you show up and what gifts you bring or how confidently you appear. Because, yeah. So you shared that, what was the moment in your life that caused you to wake up? Was it when you heard your wife speak the
Well, it's actually a little bit after that. So so it was a few weeks later. I mean, it allowed me months of ruminating on this thought, right? So the event is not nearly as bad as the torture that we put ourselves through. So in my own mind, I was thinking, okay, well, what could she possibly I could not come up with the answer to the question, what could she possibly say that with confidence could have me out of the house in 30 days? And then at the same time, I've got this thought, why didn't she just ask me to leave? We're both adults. I'd be, I wasn't happy anyways. I would have said fine, right? But at least have a plan and have some respect and work through it. And there's some difficulties there as well. I mean, she was in a wheelchair. I met her when she was paralyzed, and she was taking some different medical treatments, some hormone treatments, and she was also doing some stem cell therapy and all of this stuff that was causing a lot of stress for her and changing her body chemistry. And so I give her a lot of grace. And I think that there was more going on to the situation than I even know now. But what had happened is she also, in the same time, she's just started randomly telling people that I was an alcoholic. And I always stuck my saving grace on the fact that, well, whatever she says, people will know that, that I'm a good guy, that I am not an alcoholic, right? I've never, I asked a friend that I associate with, I go to play in a card league at a bar. And I asked the tournament director, I said, my partner's saying this about me, that I'm an alcoholic, am I not, I go, am I an alcoholic? He goes, Steve, I've never even seen you drunk. We played a bar. But the interesting thing is, people can be on this level of toxicity, this self-centeredness where truth is variable, right? They'll use statements of fact as ways to manipulate someone else. And that was something that was occurring. So I was carrying around a tape recorder because I was doubting the things, she would tell me something and I was knowing that I said something different or she said something different. And so I started carrying around a tape recorder just to make sure that I wasn't losing my mind, that I was sane. And that's kind of a sign of gaslighting. It's, when you experience it, it's like, you don't even know that it's happening to you. And it's so strange because it's like so unnecessary, and it's not lying about big things, right? I'm not saying I cheated on you or I didn't cheat on you or whatever. It's lying about whether there's milk on the counter. It's like, I mean, why would you lie about something like that? But so what happened was, I'm trying to understand this whole idea of who, how can somebody lie like that and lie with such confidence and on it, it appeared like she was telling the truth. And then I'm going, okay, this happened. Well, what happened is I went to my cousin's, he had a crawfish boil, and I got fall down drunk. I was in ketosis, so I was not processing glucose. I started drinking beer. Well, I didn't switch out of it. My blood sugar spiked. So not only did I have that diabetic type of response, I'm not diabetic, but that the blood sugar went way up. And so, yeah, it was not a good sign. And I felt so devastated because now I thought, I have ruined my life, because now people will believe what she's saying. And that's one of the things that someone that's on that narcissistic spectrum scale will do, is isolate you. They put up a wonderful face to everyone on the outside, but there's this emotional manipulation that goes on the inside. When that happened, that's when I thought I had done it. I had really done it. And I didn't know what to do. I mean, I was so scared that my life was over, that I was ready, I was just ready for it to end. I was ready for that suffering to end. That's when I made the choice. And I actually had thoughts of suicide. I thought, do I end it? Do I end this pain? Do I end this difficulty? And I realized that I couldn't do that. And there was more, there's more to that, but the main thing that I decided was, I'm just going to not feel that pain. And when I took that core identity and set it to the side, everything changed. And not only did it change in the way that I process things, right? I just felt this peace come over me. But I had this amazing after effect happen. Like before that, I would go in, it always, like now I'm single again, right? And it's like, and I'm feeling bad. And for like the last 2 years, I was just trying to make connection. And I saw a pretty girl weeks before. I would see a pretty girl at the grocery store. I'd smile, and then like they would shy away. And after this event happened, after I brought in that love and the light, and because I was feeling so low, when I went into the grocery store, this most beautiful, amazing woman smiled at me. I mean, she radiant, beautiful smile. And it lifted my heart. I mean, I was so grateful for that, because I can't come from such a dark space. And just that smile alone was enough to lift my spirits. Then I was reflecting back gratitude. I was reflecting back this appreciation for her. And it wasn't just like a 1-second smile. It was a beaming ear to ear. Like, I was wondering, okay, is this an angel? Because she was really beautiful. And I'm thinking about it, and I just kept on going with my stuff. I was completely worn out in life and no interest in anything more than just gratitude to the smile. And I turned the next aisle, and there's another person with a radiant smile. And this whole grocery store, aisle after aisle, was filled with the most beautiful people and the most beautiful smiles. And it lifted my spirits, it lifted my heart, and it made me glad to be alive. And that was the moment that I realized that this life is precious, and that we can live life, on our terms.
This is so beautiful and amazing, and that you arrived there and you were able to see others kind of reflecting back to you what you already have inside.
Yes. Well, that's the key. I think that we reflect back what we are carrying. So in the times prior, I was carrying lack, or I was carrying, these feelings of desire or want, where I was drawing energy from others, not realizing it. In the moment that I quit drawing that energy, the moment that I just radiated this gratitude for simply being, for appreciation of a smile, my interaction with other people changed, because now I'm not drawing from them something. I'm not taking from them. I'm not draining their energy. Now I am actually giving them energy. I'm, supporting them in a way. I'm honoring who they are, their spirit, their soul. And that is a beautiful exchange. And, my friends, I've got some, I can talk to anybody now because my value is independent of who this person is. To me, there is no status. We are all equally on this journey of living. So whether you're a CEO or whether you are someone in the street, we're all equally valid. We're all equally human, and we all are living this life experience. And the thing that's strange is, people can tell that, and it's opened up the door to meeting some of the most amazing people. And we realize that often, like my friends around me, like, well, how do you talk to these people? Well, I just say hello, right? Right. If they're wearing a beautiful dress, I say you're wearing a beautiful dress. I say the truth. I just acknowledge what is the truth. And I do it from a place not of desire or want. I do it from a place of just honoring an individual.
Yes, thank you. I think it's very beautiful to recognize that, to see that maybe those people, they need to hear that word of encouragement to lift their spirits as well. So being the beacon of light and hope, I think, is important. What were the 3 biggest lessons you learned as a result of your wake-up call?
The biggest lesson is, and I'm probably going to vary from what we spoke about earlier, but the biggest lesson is that how we define ourselves, whether we're this mortal existence of, collection of every experience that's happened to us, our definition of right or wrong. The thing that is important is that we define who we are from a place of empowerment. And I think if we can bring in that spirituality, that sense of self, it's that intuition. That's something. And there's something that's been added to this, which I just learned recently. The way we process information in our mind, in our brain, is on different parts of different hemispheres. The rational, logical side, the part that makes judgments, that says this is right or wrong, you're good or bad, that is a different space within the mind. It's the same space that processes language, that categorizes things, that says, 2 + 2 is 4. That's the rule side of your brain. But we have this intuitive side, and that intuitive side is the bigger picture side. It's the one that looks at all of the things that exist and comes up with a unique and creative solution. It's the thing that allows you to, if you've never seen a tree down before, but you come to a forest and there's a tree down, it helps you process the ways to get over that tree or to go around that tree. It's a new creative way of problem solving. That creative way, that, it's called fluid intelligence, that is something that is special to us. And it's even more important now because here in this day, we have computers that are taking over this rational cognitive process, right? AI will be able to master within a very short amount of time the very basic things of rules, of right and wrong, of language, of all of this. And the gift that we have is to move over more into this fluid, creative, intuitive side. And it'll be a beautiful space. It'll be a space that we can, make connections. I always laugh that the side of our mind that wonders whether God exists or not, right? That tries to prove God exists, isn't the same part of your mind that can experience God. So you almost have to stop thinking about it and move into that other space. The third thing that I think that I've realized is that it's just about being, we're better together. We don't have to do this on our own. That if we connect with others, that's where the magic happens. And if we really focus in on seeing another person holding space, that is quite powerful. And by doing that, we'll actually gain in wisdom, we'll gain in connection. And I think that makes an amazing life.
Beautiful. I think those are some of the valuable and powerful lessons. Thank you. What is your mission?
Well, my mission is to let people know that what we believe, our thoughts, will dictate the quality of our life. And often we don't realize that those thoughts are not helpful. We don't think we're good enough. We don't think this. And we forget this idea about growth mindset, that we don't start off knowing how to walk. We don't start off knowing how to swim or ride a bike or any of those things, that we get better at things over time with practice. And it's, bringing in this idea of mindfulness, that living in this present moment, and realizing that there's another component to mindfulness, which is compassion. The people from the East have said, we've got the being in the present moment, but we forgot the key component, which is also be compassionate to yourself. So that's the kind of the main idea. I know it's kind of a collection, but it's about this journey of understanding of who we are. If we could be in this moment, right, not living in the past or worrying too much about the future, if we can bring in some self-compassion, if we could remember that growth mindset of, we get better at things by practicing them and just doing them over and over, and picking something important enough that we can have a reason to do it when we hit resistance. If we do those things, then we'll start living this new life, and we'll realize that what we believe will dictate the quality of our life. But if we do those other things, we will believe how amazing we really are and how amazing this life is.
Yeah, I think you're so right that, our thoughts create a reality. It's like, because we are like magnetizing what is important and relevant in our life. And then we see evidence in physical world, what we have imagined or thought or spoke about. So I think it's important to recognize, to control your thoughts, or to check or see where you place your attention.
You're absolutely right about that.
Did you have a hero growing up?
It's funny because my previous partner, and we do I had a 20-year relationship, and then I left that, and I met the most beautiful woman. But as everything works out, sometimes, we repeat the patterns of the past. And so sometimes we deny those red flags when somebody's not treating us, to a level that we wanted. I think the key components are kindness, communication, but there's also has to be a sense of, clarity on, mutual goals. And sometimes things don't work out, not for anyone's fault, but just because they just didn't work out. And she asked me that question. She goes, who was your favorite, childhood hero? And I said, I was thinking about it. Well, I don't know. I loved to watch Superman when I was younger. And it just warmed my heart, because the next day she goes, "Good morning, Superman." And it's like, smile ear to ear, beautiful woman, saying that to you. And it was a wonderful experience. It's even to this day, it still brings back joy and lightness to my heart. So, I like Superman, and I was thinking about it, like he could fly, he was strong. But you think about it, also, he was lonely, right? He was by himself, and he didn't have that connection. I just did the human design test, and I realized that it said my personality is hermit. And I put a post out. I was laughing. I'm going, no wonder I'm so happy by myself.
So who are you in human design?
What's that?
Who are you in human design?
I'm a 6'2". I'm a 6'2" generator. Is what?
Okay.
Yeah.
I am a projector.
Are you do you know your number? Because it said
a number. I think it's 5'3" or something like that.
So no wonder we're together, because 3 5s are compatible with my 6'2". I have to be honest, I don't know anything about this, but I was laughing because I said it said that my personality type was hermit, and I thought, no wonder I'm so happy right now, because I'm by myself. I'm just tickled to death. And I put up that, this is what human design says, and this is the people that I'm compatible with. And all of the people that I resonate with, my best of buds, they're like, oh, this is me. This is me. They all match that personality type. And it was funny.
Yeah, the things we discover, and there are so many different disciplines and kind of about humanness and about different aspects of our lives that, you're constantly learning and discovering new things.
Exactly. And I would like to know more, but it's just this limited amount of time. Mm-hmm. How do we balance out all of the things that that are going on in life. And I just want somebody that knows this to kind of explain it to me very simply.
Yes. Yeah. What was the smallest thing you've done that had the biggest impact in your life so far?
The smallest thing that I do is, I just talk about this journey, this transition. And what I've realized is that people resonate with the fact that others go through the same process, right? It helps them realize that they're not alone, that it's natural, these feelings and this experience. I had someone to share with me that they went through almost 13 years of suffering, of feeling unappreciated. It's interesting because that's my catchphrase. Like, I tell everyone that I meet that I appreciate you, and I honestly do. It's like appreciating the smiles. I went through so many years of feeling unappreciated, of trying to please somebody else and then failing at it, realizing that we cannot, set the happiness in anyone else's life. We have no control over that. They can feel however they want to feel, but that happiness, that appreciation has to come from ourselves. We have to create what it is that we want in this life. And so I really tried, and I failed at it miserably, of trying to make somebody else happy, and the reason, she was in the wheelchair and she had a lot of physical things and a lot of, anger and guilt towards what had happened to her. So it was almost an impossible task for me to try to elevate her out of that. There were certain times that happened, but I would tell people that I appreciate them. And I went through and feeling unappreciated for so many years. Now, anytime somebody, is there that I appreciate, I just tell them I appreciate you. And I've said it so often that the people in my group now are using that as well. They'll say to each other, I appreciate you. And it's a beautiful thing. So, I think that that's the biggest thing that I've done, is to tell people that I appreciate them, and that by sharing those journeys, that other people realize that, if they've gone through this life of feeling unappreciated, that there are others that have experienced that, and that you can transform that, because by the moment that you start appreciating others, then that will reflect back and you'll have this abundance of appreciation.
Yes, beautiful. Yeah, amazing. What is your superpower?
My superpower is the way that I think. It's the ability to break, to understand the process and to explain it to others. And so when I'm doing my podcast, what I'm doing is I'm just thinking through, and I learned this from other people. There are, Jordan Peterson talks about how he, makes sense of things. And I never understood the way that people process things, right? And I was always confused because I was trying to bring in all of this stuff, and I'm just not organizing it very well in my mind. I'm kind of creative. I didn't have structure to the way that I was thinking. So now what I do is I create that little bit of structure. I go through, this is what I'm thinking about, and this is what I understand. And I realize that I might be wrong, right? It's not about me having anything great to share with anybody else. It's about prompting that question, about inspiring them that, what you're thinking is just as valid as what I'm thinking. And let's have that discussion. So that I think is that gift, is that ability to create dialogue, to create connection, that creative mind, and to, inspire thought.
I think you do that very well. I would agree. It is your superpower.
Thank you.
What's next for you? What do you like to create next? Any fun projects you're working on that you like to share?
So I'm pretty much maxed with my, I just redid my front webpage. Before, I was trying to talk about myself and, how I can help you do this. I don't have really time for that anymore. So I have my coaching, but I'm also involved in some of these amazing other activities. So I've got the Wellness Wednesday group. Well, I'll start from the beginning. I've got the Better Life Series podcast. And so this is about helping people find that better life, right? It's kind of like reclaiming your life. And with that, I've got a group on Facebook. And so it's connecting, amazing people. It's small. It's just starting, but it's growing quickly. The second area is this area of the Global Summit events. It's where I bring speakers together to share your message. And so we have different events that we do throughout the year. But we also do something every Wednesday called Wellness Wednesday. And it's a wonderful experience. So it's about using this mastermind approach of sharing the base knowledge that you have. Today's, the event that is today is going to be about confidence, finding your confidence. In the past, we've had sessions on connection and on just life experience. So, and we also had conversations about how to raise a happy child. The next area with the Wellness Wednesdays is also what I also have is I'm writing some books. So we have a book with the community that we're doing based off of fear. It's called The Fear Factor, Letting Go of Limiting Beliefs. Mm-hmm. And then I've got a book called Narcissist Proof. And then I've got a book with my friend Lucia that is going to be on it's about how to transform your life, but it's using some of the concepts from hypnotherapy, hypnosis, past life regression. It's a really exciting concept because it's giving the tools to help people make that shift when they don't know how to. So it's tapping into some of that base. And then I've got my personal coaching. So I do personal coaching around stress, anxiety, reframing your thoughts. If you're overthinking or overfeeling, it's about getting some sense of calm for that. So, I've got a lot going on, and I really love being busy. And, it's a very fulfilling life. So if anybody has any ideas for podcasts or anything else, I'd love to have them reach out to me and inspire some creative work.
That's amazing. I love what you're doing and the work you're bringing into this world and the books and community. I think it's important. So thank you. Thank you for doing what you do. Is there anything I haven't asked that you'd like to share?
I think that we've covered everything. The one parting thought that comes to mind is, we forget how amazing we are as people, right? It's like sometimes we're taught that, it's not polite or it's not good to embrace, who we are. And I always kind of imagine like a small light in the the guided meditation that I do. Oh, that's the other thing that I do is I do guided meditations as well. Mm-hmm. You can find them on YouTube or Insight Timer. Is that I'll imagine this beautiful radiant light in the distance. I mean, absolutely amazing, and as you connect to this light, as you come closer, it becomes bigger and brighter, and it envelops everything in your field of vision. And that when you finally get to it, that you have this sense of familiarity with it, that it feels good, it feels powerful, and that it's beautiful. In the very last moment, that you see that it's just a reflection of who you are, who you really are. And that's what I'd like people to realize, is that we are amazing creations. We are amazing beings of light. We are here for a purpose, and that purpose is to learn, to understand, and that yes, sometimes there is suffering that we experience, but that suffering also is a moment of transformation. That'll give that energy for letting you know that there's something better for you, that existence is not for you, and that you can have more. So, at that moment can be a time that you reclaim your life, that you start living the life that you want.
You're so right. You're so right. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom. If people would like to connect and learn more about you, where would they go?
The easiest way would be through a link tree. That'll give you, with so many different things that I'm involved in. It's linktr.ee/4 my best life. And if for any reason you have a difficulty with that, you can reach me at steve@mybest-life.com.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We will include all the links in episode notes so people can connect directly with you. I loved having you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your lessons, and how you reclaimed your life. It's so inspiring. And this podcast is about showing people, regular people just like you and me, what is possible if the moment we wake up to our own life and how we can reclaim it.
Thank you so much. And I just want to honor you for doing what you're doing. The message that you're sharing is so beautiful. And I honor you today. Irina, I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too.